Thanks to Theor My Man for the recommendation for this video. Hello YouTube, BlueMatona here, and welcome to this episode of Game Guides, where I will be going over family members and generals in Rome Total War. So basically, any family member is a general. But I'm going to be going over the three main uses of family members: on the battlefield, in a city, and on the campaign map. So without further ado, we're going to go onto a battlefield. So here is a pretty standard battle setup that you'll see me use in most of my videos if you watch my Let's Play Rome Total War videos. So basically, the way a general works on the battlefield is their command stars will give your units a between a -10 and a +10 attack, defense, and morale ratings. So you can have up to a -10 if your general has zero command stars and then a bunch of negative traits. And you can have up to a +10 if you have 10 command stars. So basically, this will give your units attack and defense up to +10. So that's a huge bonus. What it also does is if your units are close to your general, as you can see here when I mouse over the unit, it says spirits lifted by the general's encouragements. That means it's within the general's sphere of influence on this battlefield. And that will give it a up to +10 morale bonus as well, which is why you want to keep your general in the thick of the fighting. So if all these infantry units charge straight into the center of this force, I would want my general right behind them so they have the morale bonus. As you can see, all these infantry, spirits lifted by the general's encouragements. These middle ones do. These on the flanks are outside of the sphere of influence of the general. And the way this sphere of influence works is the radius of the sphere, this circle, it comes out from your general. It's a base of 30 meters plus 5 meters times the number of command stars plus 2 meters times the number of wreaths, influence wreaths. So both command stars and influence wreaths matter on the battlefield. In a city siege situation, it's often really smart to put your general's unit just behind the walls, so that if the enemy assaults these walls and there's therefore a fight on the walls between all the men, that they'll have this spirits lifted by the general's encouragements. They'll have the bonus morale in addition to the bonus attack and defense that they would get anyway. So remember, your units gain the attack and defense in any situation, but they only get this morale bonus if they're within the general's sphere of influence. Finally, another really useful thing for a general on a battlefield is this rally of troops ability. So if your units are routing, your general can blow their horn, and you'll see the general's horse should rise. He should rise up right there when he blows it, and that gives your men on the field a bonus in morale. So sometimes if they're routing and you use that, they will then stop their route, come back, and rejoin the battle. So a general can gain these command stars by winning battles, by being victorious on the field of battle. Essentially, it's just the more you fight and the greater odds of you, the greater odds that you overcome. So if you have a battle that you're vastly outnumbered and you win, then your general will gain more command ability, more command stars than a very lopsided battle that they should have won anyway. So basically, if you want your generals to gain command, you should just fight more. Just always be on the offensive with these generals. Next, we're going to talk about generals in a city. So what effects do they have while they're positioned in a city and they're serving as governor? So the two traits that affect this and their ability to be a good governor are management and influence. So we're going to start with management. Management scrolls can be gained from a governor being in a city that has an academy. Academy will, over time, add management scrolls. And also, if the tax rates are at high or very high for a period of time, then the general will gain management. And what management does is it increases the income for the city. That's basically its main use. As you can see here, admin, which is directly tied to the scrolls, it has the same icon. That is what goes up when management goes up. So the more management you have, the more money your city will make. So you put a very good management governor into an already very profitable city, and he will make it incredibly profitable. You put a very good management governor into a not so profitable city, and he might bolster it up into a decent economic force. So management's pretty important just to make money and to keep your cities productive in the long run. The second thing that they can really do in a city is have influence. So as you can see, this general does not have any influence. So let's go to a general that does. So here by Carthage is my faction leader, has a lot of scrolls of influence, 7 to be exact. So what this will do is if I move him into the city of Carthage, like so, then now he's the governor of the city. And what this does is will add 5% public order for each wreath. So the 7 influence wreaths that he has will add 35% governor's influence to public order. So positive public order, 5% for each wreath. And you can gain influence by, 1, being a faction leader or heir. I mean, that just makes sense. If you're the leader of a faction, you will automatically gain more influence. That's just kind of how it works. 2, if you take a lot of land, so if you bring land into the empire and you're a general that's out there taking cities, not only will you gain command, but you'll also gain influence because you're influential over these provinces that you took. And 3, if you're elected to a Senate position. So if you're elected to a position on the Senate, you will gain influence as a result. As you can see, a lot of the people on the Senate, of these Senate officials, have a lot of influence as a result. And also, the more influence you have, the more likely you are to be elected too. So it kind of goes both ways. Finally, we're going to talk about a general outside of a city. So a general, when they are not in a city, but also not on the field of battle, has a few uses. 1, and most primarily in my opinion, they can recruit mercenaries. So each province will have certain mercenaries that are available, and these will become available over time based on the location of the province. So for instance here, kind of in Thrace, I have the Thracian mercenaries available. South in Greece, you will often find Cretan archers, especially if you go to the actual island of Crete here. And you also find a lot of phalanx pikemen in this area. So let's see what happens here if I move this general outside of the city. So here's a Cretan archers and a mercenary hoplites, a phalanx pikeman unit. So the mercenaries are very dependent on the region that you're in. So that can be a good bolster to the army. You know, as you often see in my campaign games, I will use the hoplites, these guys, as a city defense unit because they're very great in a defensive role. Secondly, a general outside of a city can build watchtowers and forts. So these are slightly different. A watchtower, when built, is a permanent structure. It cannot be destroyed, and it extends your line of sight. So a lot of times you'll see watchtowers built on the edge of a province so that you can see into enemy territory. Now, the one thing about watchtowers is that they belong to whoever owns the territory they're in, not whichever faction built them. So Thessalonica was a Macedon faction a few turns ago. This was their watchtower that they built, a Macedon watchtower. I took the province, and now it is my Bruttii watchtower, and it serves me. So that's just an interesting tidbit. Second, they are able to build a fort, which serves as a temporary encampment for an army. That, you know, you get a small wall, so it's better for defense than having your army in the open field, and it's just kind of like an outpost that you can build. These can be built anywhere, not just in your own territory, and they can also be destroyed and taken off the campaign map, unlike a watchtower. So those are the 3 main uses for generals: on a battlefield, in a city, and outside of a city on the campaign map. Just a few small facts before I end this video. A general's bodyguard size is very dependent on their skill as a general. The more command stars, the more management and the more influence, the larger the bodyguard size will be. Also, if you are a faction heir or the faction leader, like so, for instance, this character, Titus the Lewd, is the faction heir, you will have a larger general's bodyguard as a result, which makes a lot of sense. That's just an interesting thing to know. Also, generals can be gained in a few different ways. First, they can be born into the family. You can have, this is your family tree. As you can see here, these two generals that I have were the son of this one, Cornelius Brutus. So, if they are born into the family, but when they turn 16, you will receive a coming of age scroll on the side of your screen at the start of the turn, and they will therefore become a general and an active family member for you. Second is one of your female daughters, like here as you can see, this is a female daughter of my faction leader, Cassius Brutus, then married Plecus Sulla, and then he becomes a family member general as a result. So they can be born, or they can be gained through marriage to a daughter. Finally, there are random events in the game that you might be able to adopt or sort of just inherit a new family member, but those are quite rare and don't occur that often. So it's important to conserve your generals. You don't want to lose them on the field of battle. You want them to be in your cities. You want them to be managing. You want them to have influence, and you want to be able to use them as generals. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. And as always, I hope to see you all next time.